Hey everyone. Yeah, it's been a few weeks since I've posted anything. Physical energy levels I've really been struggling with the last few weeks. Kind of really kind of being in my head quite a bit too. Um, Doing good though, for the most part. Um, Realizing that stress plays such a huge part, not only in your mental health, but your physical as well. Stepped on the scale yesterday and seen that I've gained 15 pounds in the past 30 days. So, prompted me to get off my butt and get some stuff done yesterday. So that was good. Now the goal is to just maintain things and keep slowly picking away at household chores and getting things back to where they need to be. Um, Getting rid of stuff, getting things packed up. So hopefully I can move next year to be closer to my mom. But we'll see what happens. Something that happened today after I got out of therapy, um, posted a meme in a Facebook group that I'm in, and about women being in their masculine era. And I had to explain this to two men. I don't think men quite realize how much abuse women tolerate, how much of how much abuse affects their personalities. Um, I kind of went on to explain a little bit about myself, you know, all the abuse and trauma I've been through throughout the years, starting in childhood. Being molested at 4 years old taught me very early on that being feminine was a way to attract unwanted attention, I guess. I mean, 4 years old and not really learning how to be feminine and not wanting to be feminine because at that young of an age, I really learned that being feminine just gets you hurt, not only physically, but emotionally as well. And dealing with a brother that was a combination of every form of abuse you could possibly imagine, running the gamut of all forms of abuse. And, like that takes a toll on a person, that changes their personality. And I know for me, I see it more as an adult than I did as a kid, having a more masculine personality than the men I work with, being a hard ass around men that, should be harder than me. And, like I flat out, my previous position, I flat out told a coworker that I was more of a hard ass than him and our manager. And, I get this look like whatever. And I was just like, no, I'm serious. You guys are soft on these people, whereas I'm ready to fire people, and you guys just want to give them a slap on the hand. And like, no, these are firing offenses. Do something about it. And, you know, the way work environments are, short of a catastrophic event, getting fired is harder than people think anymore, at least in the companies that I've been in the past 10 years. And especially the company I'm with now. And don't get me wrong, I love what I do. I genuinely love the company that I'm with and what I do, and 90% of the guys I work with. I absolutely adore them and what I do and where I can go. But at the end of the day, I'm still a bigger hard ass than all of them combined. And it is a product of how I grew up and what I learned from that house. I was tempted to say home, but it was never a home. It was it was a place of torture. it was, a place, yeah, I can imagine myself living there completely, on my own, but I don't want to. There's nothing good that would come of me living in that house ever again. It's nothing but bad memories, and somebody else can have it. I'd rather see the place blow up myself, but that's me and what I lived through in there. So, I mean, guys, show up. And what I mean by that is be a man. This meme was about women being in their masculine era, but the truth is, women have to be in their masculine era because men are in their feminine era. So there's really no room for women to be feminine anymore. I need a partner. I need somebody that won't back down, that won't allow me to run over them. I don't need a, hey baby, whatever you want type of man. I need a man that's going to tell me, hey, we can't do that. Or, hey, it's just not possible right now. Instead of giving me everything I want. It's not about what I want. It's about what I need. And somebody that's willing to communicate that with me and not just be like, oh, hey, whatever you want. No, it doesn't work like that. I work hard for what I want. And I want my partner to do the same. I want my partner to be passionate about me. I want him to love me for exactly who I am. Faults and all. And as I would do the same for him. And even having that discussion with my best friend, which is hysterical, realizing that I need the type of partner that my grandfather was. I need somebody that's going to push my buttons. I need somebody that's going to look at me with all the love that they can give. And knowing that they'll do anything for me. But I'm not asking them to do everything for me. I'm just asking them to love me, to show me they love me, to communicate with me. People can't change things that they don't know anything about. And that's been a huge thing in past relationships and even the relationship that just ended. He didn't tell me anything. And hindsight being what it is, yeah, that's a good thing. He didn't tell me what his demons were. Because then it could be me facing jail time. It could be me having to testify against him right now. So in that aspect, given that relationship, yeah, I'm glad he didn't disclose those things to me, because that would definitely put me in a very difficult position. And thankfully, I got off scot-free. He didn't tell me anything. There's nothing for me to tell the government. There's nothing for me to tell, local cops or anything. He very much compartmentalized everything that he was. And, that was kind of another discussion somebody posted about staying away from somebody that's on a dating site. And somebody had commented about, just because they have a clean background doesn't mean they're safe to date. Exactly right. However, that being said, the true monsters are the ones that have a clean background and that don't show any red flags. Again, given my situation, this man never showed any signs of grooming, never showed me anything but love. And yeah, I mean, he's exactly the type of partner that I need, because every day, threatening to kill him, threatening to stab him. And that was it was a joke to him. And I mean, and yeah, for the most part, it was a joke. But at the same time, he would irritate that last nerve to the point where, like, dude, I'm serious. I will fucking kill you. And it just, it's a quirky way of showing affection, but it worked for us, just as it did with my grandparents. That was their way of showing affection. And it's one of the things I miss most about my grandparents. Seeing the look in my grandfather's eye, knowing that he's about to start some shit. That he's about to get on her last nerve, which doesn't take much. But that's where I learned it from. You know, all relationships have their quirks. My parents, not so many quirks, as it really was a lesson in what I don't want, that I never want. You know, it was a very traumatic and abusive relationship. You know, it's one thing to poke fun at your partner, to joke with them, but also have, you know, a loving, adoring look in their eye like my grandfather did. Like, you knew he was about to start some shit, but the look in his eye was pure adoration for my grandmother. Whereas my dad, it was borderline contempt for my mom. So, I mean, it's knowing those differences. It's seeing those red flags, those true red flags. And thankfully for me, this last relationship where, you know, I'm lucky I don't have kids. So I'm extremely lucky that I never had to put, or never chose to put, a child in a situation like that. To me, the true monsters of the world are like the man that is currently sitting in federal prison for what he's done. Those are the true monsters, the ones that compartmentalize to the point where there aren't any red flags. They're not known until they get caught, until you see them in the news. To me, those are the true monsters of this world. So, guys, step it up. Seriously, you know, look at somebody like me who has known trauma and abuse virtually my entire life, that is looking for that partner that makes me feel safe, that makes me want to give up control. I mean, one of the worst traits I have is trying to control so much of my life, and realizing that, you know, the more I try to control things, the more out of control my life gets, which is a contradiction, but that's me. I really am a contradiction, you know. But essentially, though, step up for your partner, show them you love them. It's okay to laugh and joke around, because, you know, I love a partner that can make me laugh. I love a partner that I can joke and have a good time with, that, you know, my sense of humor is so sarcastic that they understand not to take certain things too seriously. But they also know by my tone of voice when I'm serious, when I'm joking, when I need a hug. You know, it's getting to know your partner on that level, and just showing women like myself that are hyper independent, that, you know, it's understanding that do something for that person that, yeah, they would normally do themselves, but do it for them without them having to ask. Because let me tell you, women like me are never going to ask you. We're not expecting you to mind read either, don't get me wrong. But it's doing little, for me anyway, it's doing little things that, you know, I can do myself, but hey, let me open the door for you. Let me carry that for you. Let me hold your hand. These tiny little gestures that mean so much to me. that allow me to give up some of that control, that be like, hey, I can trust him. Hey, maybe this one won't hurt me. And just being allowed to feel feminine, to feel like I'm not endangering myself by allowing this. And I just don't think enough guys get that. You know, if somebody is open enough or feels comfortable enough to open up about their past, especially a traumatic past like mine, don't take it for granted. Understand that this person is opening up to you. You know, again, somebody like me who for so long has had trouble opening up to people, having, as my therapist would call it, a coat of armor. And not just a coat of armor, but man, I had layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of armor. And I've shed so much of that through this past year or so, being in therapy with him, and, you know, finding a therapist that listens, that understands, and, you know, is a dick when he needs to be a dick. If that's, you know, understanding that that's how that's how some of us operate. You know, sometimes you have to be a dick to us in order to be like, oh, well, okay then, I got it. Well, some of us are hard-headed and beyond stubborn, and so sometimes you got to be a dick to get through to us. You know, be that for your partner. Be a dick when you need to be. Push them when they need to be pushed, but also be their peace, their best friend. Be their therapist. And you would be amazed at what somebody like me is willing to give for somebody like that. The amount of love, the amount of affection and attention that's reciprocated just by being a good person, essentially. You know, I have a harsh personality. I get this. I understand my faults. I understand my faults better than most. It's a work in progress. I will, no matter how many more videos I post, no matter how infrequent they get, at the end of the day, I'm still working on myself. I'm still pushing forward. You know, what happened in August, it changed my life. But I'm choosing to move forward. Yes, I was re traumatized all over again. But I'm not letting that stop me from pushing forward. Yeah, I mean, I let it get to me in the sense that I lost all motivation to on the physical side. You know, I let that drain me to the point where my physicality just went straight down the drain. You know, like I moved to my current position of roughly 6 months ago, and it's more of a physically demanding job than my previous position was. And all that, all the effort that I put in, the weight that I lost last year, I gained it all back despite being on a GLP-1 medication. You know, so for me, it, it's it's moving forward. You know, those of you out there that are struggling right now, guys, I get it. I get it more so than some others might. You know, having traumatic events happen to you, having it feel like everything you worked for is gone, that, you know, you did it for nothing. It's just another lesson. Question is, do you let it hold you back? Do you let it hold you down, or do you continue to move forward? As pessimistic as I tend to sound, I call it being realistic. At the end of the day, I'm an eternal optimist. You know, I keep pushing forward. Yeah, it might get me down. for a little bit, but I always get back up and I keep pushing forward. I don't want to be what created me. I don't want to be what I was raised by. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better partner. And the only way to do that is to keep moving forward. Your mental health, no matter what path you're on, really isn't any different than the addictions that are out there. It's no different than staying sober or staying off drugs. It's really no different than that. The same principles apply. You just don't have as many steps. I mean, you still have amendments to make, you know, and I think I've done a pretty damn good job of that with my mom. You know, a relationship that, yeah, ultimately I allowed that to happen to a certain extent. But there was also circumstances that I wasn't aware of. I didn't see the entire picture. And once I did, it was, man. And I still feel guilty. I'll always carry a certain guilt for allowing things to get that far. And I say allowing because I mean, I'm always going to hold myself more accountable than others will. Part of my healing process is to not only forgive, but to be easier on myself. You know, and the funny thing is, like, I went on a date last week and went fine until I left, and then I got text messages right as I was leaving, and basically he didn't have the balls to make a move when I was standing right there in front of him, and then he wanted me to come back and spend more time with him and all this other stuff, and like, no, you should have had the balls to make your move when I was there. Would it have changed the end result? Probably not. Would I have given him a second date? Maybe, probably. But he chose to send me messages after I'd already hit the road. Guys, that doesn't work. If you're into somebody, let them know. Not in a damn text message. Just be a man about it. You know, it's okay to be assertive. But keep in mind there's a fine line between aggression and assertiveness. Just like, you know, there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. You know? That's sometimes you get to a point and you're like, okay, where do I go from here? And I reach that point. So hopefully next video won't be as long in between. But there's an update for you guys. Be safe out there. Stay warm if you're in the Midwest. And we'll catch you soon. Bye.